Today we are breaking down the journeys of three absolute icons who achieved total dominance, but faced completely different psychological and physical battles to get there. We're talking about an untouchable featherweight who retired at 27 because he ran out of mountains to climb, a lightweight legend who went on an entire world championship run without giving up a single point, and the most dominant figure the submission grappling world has ever seen. All right, let's start off with the story of Gordon Ryan.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about probably the most dominant and definitely the most polarizing figure in modern grappling, Gordon Ryan. People call him the king, and for good reason. But how did he actually get there? We're going to break down the journey that made the man.
So, you might think his story starts in some legendary old-school gym in Rio de Janeiro, right? Nope, not even close. It all started, and you can't make this up, in a daycare fight club. Seriously, it was run by a teacher who was just a huge UFC fan and was showing kids moves he saw on TV. That's where it all began. Wild.
And his whole story is this insane transformation. I mean, you look at him now, this absolute physical specimen, and you just assume, oh, that guy was born a world-class athlete. But the reality? Totally different. He was just a skinny kid from Monroe, New Jersey. And listen, this was not some silver spoon story. He didn't come from a Jiu Jitsu family, and money was definitely tight. He had to fund this whole thing himself. We're talking birthday and Christmas money just for his first classes. Think about that. And by the time he's 17, he's already working full-time jobs just so he can keep training. That's some serious dedication right from the jump.
So yeah, his foundation was absolutely forged in New Jersey. And those early years, you can't overstate how important they were. This is where he meets the people who are going to set the entire trajectory for his career.
And check out how quickly things started to move for him. He starts at 15 with Miguel Benitez, then pretty soon he's training under the legendary Tom DeBlas. That's where he meets a key figure, Gary Tonin. And from that point on, his learning curve just shoots straight up. I mean, to get your black belt from Gary Tonin in only 5 years, that's unheard of for most people.
So before he became the super technical, systematic grappler we know today, what was his edge? It was simple, really. It was just that raw Jersey grit. He was that kid who would not stop no matter what. That relentless drive, that was his first real weapon.
Now, that relationship with Gary Tonin, it turned out to be the single most important one of his entire career. Why? Because Gary is the one who introduces Gordon to the man who would literally change everything for him, the mastermind coach, John Danaher, down in that famous blue basement at Renzo Gracie's in New York. And here's the thing you gotta understand about John Danaher. He didn't just teach moves, he taught systems. You know, most of jiu-jitsu was taught like, here's an armbar, here's a triangle. Danaher was on a completely different level. He was building entire frameworks.
So, what does that actually mean, a system? Well, think of it like this. Instead of just learning one specific armbar from one position, Danaher teaches you the fundamental principles of controlling an arm. Once you understand that, you can suddenly see a dozen different ways to attack that arm. Arm bars, kimuras, you name it, from anywhere. It's about knowing the why, not just the what. And that lets you solve problems on the mat like a supercomputer.
And for Gordon, this was like finding the key to the universe. This super analytical, almost scientific approach, it just clicked perfectly with his brain. He had this incredible ability to absorb and remember tons of information, and Danaher's system basically supercharged that skill. He wasn't just learning jiu-jitsu anymore, he was learning a whole new way to think about it.
Get this, he's only 17 years old, and he tells Danaher straight up what his goal is. Not just to be a black belt, not just to win a tournament, but to be the best ever. And you'd think a coach would laugh, right? But Danaher just nods. He knew that what might seem like crazy arrogance was actually that obsessive mindset you need to be the best in the world. So with Danaher as the architect and that blue basement as their laboratory, something new started to form. A team that was about to turn the entire grappling world on its head. This was the birth of the Danaher Death Squad.
And this team, it was different. This wasn't some all-star team of big names they recruited from other places. No, this was a homegrown crew. A bunch of guys who were just completely obsessed, all learning and building this deadly system together, from the ground up.
And here's the key difference in how they thought about the sport. Most teams, most athletes, were training to win on points. You know, get a good position, hold on, run out the clock. The DDS philosophy was the complete opposite. They trained for one single purpose, to finish the fight. Control was never the goal, it was just the path to the submission. So think about it. You've got this new mindset, you've got this revolutionary system, and you've got a room full of killers to train with every single day. With all those pieces in place, Gordon Ryan started a run of dominance that, honestly, the sport had just never seen before.
He just ran through the entire no-gi scene, the Eddie Bravo Invitational, IBJJF No-Gi Worlds, and the big one, the ADCC World Championships, which is basically the Olympics of grappling. He wasn't just winning, he was beating legends, past world champions, and cementing himself as the GOAT.
But here's the crazy part. While he looked totally invincible on the mat, he was fighting this brutal, hidden battle off of it. For years, he was dealing with these awful, chronic stomach problems that made it hard to even eat. It was a war of attrition that eventually forced him into an early retirement from competition in 2026. So he walked away from competition with a record that, it might never be broken. And the crown jewel of that record? 7 ADCC World Titles. That number just says it all, doesn't it? It speaks to a level of dominance that was just absolute and completely undisputed.
When you look at his whole journey, from that kid in the daycare fight club to becoming the king, it's obviously a story about insane dedication. But it makes you think, right? How much of it comes down to finding that one perfect mentor? That one person who's just as obsessed as you are, who can see what you're capable of and hand you the exact blueprint to unlock it.
A level of dominance that was just absolute and completely undisputed. But while Gordon Ryan used ruthless, systematic dominance to conquer the heavyweights and open divisions, a completely different kind of masterpiece was being painted in the lightweight division. When you talk about the absolute legends of the BJJ mats, you gotta mention Lucas Lepri. He was extremely dominant during his prime, especially in the IBJJF, where years would go by without a single point being scored against him.
A 9-time world champion, IBJJF Hall of Famer, the guy's legacy seems unshakable. But the road to becoming a legend? Well, it's never, ever a straight line. Lepri's story is one of insane talent, yeah, but also crushing pressure, and more than anything, incredible resilience.
And this is the real puzzle of his career. Get this, in 2007, he does the unthinkable. He wins the world championship in his very first year as a black belt. He's on top of the world. But then, silence. For 7 long years, that same title slips through his fingers. He was always on the podium, sure, but never on that top step. So what on earth happened in those 7 years? That's what we're going to break down. To really understand the struggle, you have to go back to the beginning. You have to see just how incredible his rise was. So let's look at Lepri's early years, because they set the stage for one of the most explosive debuts the sport has ever seen.
Okay, so Lepri's foundation wasn't just built on the Jiu Jitsu mats, which is fascinating. From age 10 to 15, he was deep into capoeira, and that gave him this unreal sense of balance and agility. So when he finally jumps into Jiu Jitsu at 15, his learning curve is just vertical. So fast, in fact, that by 19, he's already the head coach at his academy. And just 3 years after that, at 22, he grabs the ultimate prize.
And this was the moment. This is what sealed his reputation as a true prodigy. Winning the Worlds as a first-year black belt is just exceptionally rare. And to make it even crazier, it was the very first time the World Championship was held in the United States, so it was a huge, historic event. He'd reached the absolute top of his sport basically overnight.
But after that picture-perfect start, the story takes a turn. He enters this long, really frustrating period where that gold medal, the one that once seemed so easy to get, was suddenly completely out of his reach. 7 years. Think about that. Between 2007 and 2014, he was winning other huge tournaments, don't get me wrong, but he just could not reclaim that one specific title, the GI World Championship. He was always right there, always so close. So what was it? Well, the year after his huge win, he moves from Brazil to the US. That's a massive challenge right there. New culture, new language. At the same time, big-time sponsorships start rolling in, and with them come these new, super high-pressure expectations. All of this just created this intense battle inside his own head. He started being afraid of losing, and said he would feel frozen during the biggest matches, unable to fight like the champion he knew he was.
The change was just night and day. In 2007, he's this young gun fighting with total freedom, just chasing a dream. But from 2008 on, he's a champion in a new country, trying to defend a reputation, carrying this crushing weight of expectation.
The game hadn't changed on the mats, not really. It had changed in his mind.
So how did he possibly overcome this? He had this incredibly powerful realization. The problem wasn't his jiu-jitsu. That was still completely world-class. The problem was psychological.
And he tackled this mental block with the same discipline he brought to the mats. First, he admitted what the problem was. Then, he dove headfirst into sports psychology and motivational stuff. He had to consciously rebuild his entire mindset, you know? He had to relearn how to take risks without being terrified of failure, and just focus on rebuilding that unshakable confidence in his technical, precise game.
And in 2014, all that hard work paid off. 7 years after his first title, Lucas Lepri was a world champion again. It was just this massive breakthrough. It proved that all the work he'd done, not just on his body, but on his mind, was worth it. He had finally broken the cycle.
But here's the kicker. This breakthrough wasn't just a one-time thing. It was the beginning of an era of absolute total dominance, one that would cement his place as one of the greatest of all time. After that comeback in 2014, he started a truly legendary run. After closing out a final with a teammate in 2015, he went on to win 4 consecutive world championships from 2016 to 2019. He wasn't just winning anymore, he was a force of nature.
The absolute peak of this dominance came in 2016. Get this, during his entire world championship campaign that year, not one single opponent managed to score a single point against him. At the highest level of the sport, he was technically flawless. He was basically untouchable.
So in 2019, Lepri retired from competition. He decided to shift his focus away from winning medals for himself and toward building a legacy that would last way longer than his time on the mats.
And his approach to business really mirrored the patience he learned as a competitor. Instead of chasing fast growth, he opened his academy in Charlotte, North Carolina, and stayed in that one location for 11 years. He focused on building a rock-solid community and real trust before he ever even thought about expanding. It's such a powerful lesson in playing the long game. His whole journey just offers these incredible lessons that apply way beyond jiu-jitsu, right? Always stay hungry to learn, like a white belt. Use your bad days as a chance to get better. Trust your technique over brute strength. Surround yourself with a good team. And maybe most important of all, follow your own path, especially when people doubt you.
Which really brings us to a final question to think about. What was his greatest achievement? Was it that first, seemingly easy win as a young prodigy? Or was it the second one, the comeback victory that only happened after 7 years of struggling with pressure and rebuilding himself from the inside out? It's a question that really gets to the heart of what true greatness is all about.
He showed us what 7 years of dedication can do. But Lucas Lepri wasn't the only legendary gi player that we're talking about today. In the featherweight division, there was another master at work. Rafa Mendes is considered the best featherweight to ever compete in jiu-jitsu, and this is his story.
This isn't just a story about a great jiu-jitsu player. It's about a man who, for all intents and purposes, solved the game. I want you to really think about that for a second. Imagine being the absolute best at what you do. You've beaten everyone, you've won everything, and you look around and realize you're done. Not because you're washed up, but because you've won so completely that there are no more mountains to climb. That's the fascinating puzzle at the heart of Rafael Mendes' story.
And if you want to understand his legend, it all starts with this number, 0. That's exactly how many times Rafael Mendes was submitted in his entire 8-year career as a black belt. Never. Not once. Against the deadliest grapplers on the planet, the guy was literally untouchable.
So, if he was truly invincible, why on earth did he walk away? That question brings us to the first chapter of his story, the king who abdicated.
Think about that, 27 years old. That's when most athletes are just hitting their prime. But the 6-time world champion, the undisputed king, just decided he was done. To understand a move like that, we have to rewind all the way back to the beginning. A prodigy's purpose. So where does someone like this even come from?
Well, he wasn't born into some martial arts dynasty. He was just a kid from Rio Claro, Brazil, whose world got turned upside down when his parents divorced. He and his brother found a new home on the mats, and more importantly, they found a father figure in their coach, Ramon Lemos. He's the one who instilled that relentless work ethic and the core values that would shape everything they did.
And that incredible foundation, it didn't just lead to a bunch of wins. No, it sparked a complete revolution in the sport.
Get this, he shows up at the legendary ADCC trials, having barely even trained no-gi before. And he doesn't just win, he submits every single person on his side of the bracket. Then he gets to the finals and dethrones a legend, all at just 19 years old. That was the exact moment the Jiu Jitsu world just stopped and said, "Whoa, what did we just see?"
And a huge part of his new style was this thing, the Berimbolo. Before Mendes came along, this was a super obscure, almost unknown move. He took it and turned it into a deadly, systematic weapon, a puzzle that nobody, and I mean nobody, could figure out. He and his brother were the guys who really pioneered what we now call modern BJJ, using speed, crazy inversions, and just pure technical brilliance to leave everyone else in the dust.
But you don't become a legend on your own. You need a rival. And for Mendes, that rival was Rubens Cobrinha Charles, another all-time great. Their matches weren't just fights, they were like high-speed chess at the highest possible level. And every time they competed, they pushed the entire sport forward.
And hey, the numbers don't lie. While Cobrinha was an absolute titan, Mendes consistently had his number. He finished with a dominant head-to-head record and, crucially, surpassed him in world titles, becoming the most successful featherweight in history.
It wasn't just about dominance for him, it was about growth. Cobrinha was the fire. He was the reason to train harder every single day. That rivalry is what forged Mendes into the perfect competitor.
So how did he build this perfect game? Well, it was no accident. The man had a blueprint.
His philosophy was actually pretty simple, but totally genius. Depth over breadth. Forget knowing 1,000 different moves. He believed you should master just a handful of them so perfectly that your body reacts before your mind even has a chance to think.
He even had a name for it, the 3x3x3 model. Pick 3 things from the top, 3 from the bottom, and 3 submissions, and just drill them into your DMA. This super focused approach created a game with absolutely no wasted motion, where every single move flowed perfectly into the next.
And this is where he really went against the grain. He stopped lifting heavy weights completely. Instead, he focused on these intense 25-second bursts of speed drills that were specific to Jiu Jitsu. He basically turned the sport itself into his conditioning, building all that crazy speed and timing right there on the mat, not in the weight room.
So you've got the perfect game plan and an unbreakable record. Which brings us back to the ultimate question, why stop? Well, the answer is simple. He chose legacy over longevity. He had climbed the mountain. He had solved the puzzle. That drive to compete, that need to prove he was the best, it just wasn't there anymore. A brand new purpose was calling him. He'd already cemented his name in the history books, but what's so important here is that his very definition of what it means to be successful was about to completely change. As a competitor, his mission was all about his own medals, about winning championships. But as a coach, the mission became so much bigger. It was about instilling strong morals and core values in the next generation, including his own kids.
So, has he been successful? Yeah, just look at this. The Art of Jiu-Jitsu Academy he founded with his brother isn't just a gym, it's a champion factory. We're talking Gym of the Year. We're talking producing multiple black belt world champs in a single year. He is now building a whole new legacy through his students, proving his genius goes way beyond his own performance.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Rafael Mendes gave us a nearly perfect career, a record that might never, ever be broken. But maybe, just maybe, his greatest move of all was knowing the perfect time to walk away, to redefine victory entirely on his own terms.
Every like and subscribe is appreciated. And if you want to see a highlight video of this athlete, go ahead and click this video on the right side of your screen. Or if you want to see more videos like this, click on the video on your left.